Big win for Homebuyers in Mumbai. The economic offences wing of the police is set to freeze Kamala Developers' bank accounts, attach and sell the promoters' personal property and luxury cars as well. It's official now. Sasikala Natarajan is set to be sworn in as the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu on Tuesday morning.
At Tamil Nadu, it is national emergency because it's purely unconstitutional and it's a constitutional breakdown because criminals should not enter into politics.
Voices against Sasikala's elevation intensifies. DMK in Congress raise questions on Sasikala's credibility, while within her own party, she is opposed by expelled MP Sasikala Pushpa and ex-Rajya Sabha MP Kannan, who also quit the AIA-DMK party. Politics overshadows environmental emergency. 10 days after the collision, toxic oil spill off the coast of Chennai continues to put lives and livelihoods at risk. News that should make your heart skip a beat. Magic Bricks Now's expose finds hospitals books nearly 600% profits on life-saving coronary stents that are critical in the treatment of heart diseases. And VVIP mockery of law and justice hits a new low. After mowing down 4 people, audacious Audi owner now claims vehicle insurance. Hello and welcome. You are watching The Big Story here on Magic Bricks Now. I'm Krishna Kumar. The Kamala landmark case, where in the Bombay High Court has come down heavily on the developer, directing the economic offences wing of the Mumbai police to freeze the developers' bank accounts, attach and sell the promoters' personal property and luxury cars as well. My colleague Disha Shah, who has been tracking this case in court from day one, gets us the latest in this report. First up, take a look.
Yes, absolutely. There seems to be more trouble in store for the Kamala landmark construction, as now the High Court has asked EOW, that's Economic Offences Wing, to freeze all the bank accounts, that's 150 plus bank accounts of the directors of the Kamala landmark, that's Jitendra Jain, Junendra Jain, Ketan Shah and Sushil Mantri, and to do a thorough investigation and give a detailed report by 20th of February 2017. In fact, the court has also asked the directors to sell off their attached personal properties that include 34 personal properties and even 7 high-end expensive luxury cars, and deposit that money in one escrow account. And in fact, this money will be used to finish all the pending and delay projects across the city. Remember that all the 4 directors were arrested by the EOW in the month of November last year, that's 2016, for duping hundreds of home buyers, for taking almost 90% of the money and not giving them projects which were stuck for good 6 to 7 years. So now this comes as a big relief for mostly hundreds of home buyers who have booked their homes with the developer. In fact, the EOW officer also pointed out, saying that 16 FIRs have been filed till date in various different projects, and they are also expecting more. In fact, the judge also pointed out, saying that he suspects that money laundering has happened in this case, and EOW officer also expects that more FIRs will be registered. So now the next hearing will take place on 20th of February 2017. This is Disha Shah from Magic Bricks Now.
And for more on that big story and to take it forward, we're now being joined by Mr. Uday Vavikar, Vice President, Consumer Court Bar Association, Maharashtra and Goa, and we have a home buyer joining us soon as well. But first, we have Mr. Uday Vavikar with us. Uday Vavikar, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here in our Magic Bricks Now studios. I want to understand, just to start with, this Kamala landmark case has been a groundbreaking one, considering the speed with which investigations have progressed, and more importantly, the speed with which the courts have taken up the matter. From legal proceedings point of view, are you happy with the way this case has been progressing?
Not only happy, it's going to be not only a landmark judgment, but I think this is quite a leading judgment and action by the Mumbai High Court, and the High Court must be complimented, and of course the judges are really doing a justice, because not only that he was arrested, but also the properties are being attached before they are sold or, before they are laundered. And that's something really great.
And it's happening, we are in the day and age of where the big defaulters, their personal properties are getting attached, be it, Vijay Mallya or we're talking about Kamala Landmark over here. In this case, the only difference is that the money that they owe to is not to a bunch of banks, but to a bunch of home buyers like you and me who are there also as part of our audience. And from a home buyer's perspective, how does he or she look at this Kamala Landmark case and to where it has reached? Because Kamala Landmark is one of the many. There are many home buyers who are watching us right now, Mr. Vavikar, who are wondering what to do with their developer who hasn't delivered on the project. So how much heart can a home buyer watching this take from the Kamala Landmark's latest judgment?
This is an eye-opener, and I would call it, since it's an High Court judgment, would be a precedent to many. Similarly, Consumer Protection Act, where the Vaidya Akash builder, Phondekar, was arrested and then subsequently was arrested by Consumer Court and now has been given 3 years imprisonment by State Commission of Maharashtra. Various properties are getting attached to the builders. I think builders have to be beware, but at the same time, the technicalities in the judiciary are there. One has to realize that. And sometimes the time is consumed more and justice delayed is justice denied. In this case, look at the speed, and it is really, it is really welcomed that even judiciary is taking a judicial note so quickly that action is there. And it's a sigh of relief to consumers.
Absolutely. It is a sigh of relief, Mr. Vavikar, but the question is that, keeping Kamala Landmark, as a precedence, as next time there's a case like this, they can always quote the judgments which were given for Kamala Landmark. But, but Kamala Landmark case got a lot of legal heft and a lot of push, a lot of media attention, and it got fast-tracked in courts and etc., etc. And I remember having this conversation with you where you said, not every single case can be fast-tracked. Not every single case can be put on, on fast-track basis in courts. So what does the Kamala Landmark, judgment tell us in terms of other cases that are pending in courts as we speak?
See, this is something where the action has been taken really fast, and then economic offence also has really come very fast. So, every case, it need not happen, but it is one, I would say, example setting. And this example setting can go a far way, making its impact on various other judgments of a similar cases, because this will be a landmark precedent. And once you show the precedent and the time schedule and urgency in a matter so that builder cannot run away laundering the properties or he is not available, police can't track him down, this is a usual story. In fact, I was telling you the example of the Vaidya Akash, the builder was evading and still his wife and the sister is evading. I don't know why. Police station is not really acting to that effect, and they are saying we could not get him when economic offence could get them, and then he was arrested. So this is where the police stations also have to really pull a socks.
So the EOW, Mr. Vavikar, if I were to just quickly understand this, the economic offences wing of the Mumbai police is crucial for project delay cases. Is that what we've understood from what has happened in the Kamala Landmark case so far?
I must say that more than project delay cases, it is crucial on the economic laundering, money laundering and cheating to the public at large by taking their investment and then swindling it. So therefore, it is not only the delays in the project, but along with the project delays, there are various other factors which is economic exploitation where they have acted, and they have acted very fast. I mean, that shows, even in this case which I showed, the economic offence first arrested in Vaidya Akash, the builder, and still his wife and the sister-in-law is not being captured. And there are about 9 times police stations have been reminded. So this situation will have to only change.
Yes.
I mean,
consumers will have to change. Consumers who are watching us, it's really simple. If you are a home buyer stuck with a project delay and you have an errant builder that you are dealing with, you need to take legal counsel right away, because with precedents like Kamala Landmark, you can get justice. That's the whole point, that the consumers, home buyers out there who are stuck with project delays need to get legal counseling, need to make sure that their local police station does their job right, and get a lawyer to make sure that the police station does their job right, isn't it?
True, absolutely true. Everybody of us has to follow, because unless we rise awake and not strike, if we are scared that, oh, we'll go to the court, one man cannot make a difference. But let us all be together, because if the consumers are aware for their rights and they are patient to fight, I think we can change a lot of things. and lot of unscrupulous activities can be controlled, and this judgment is a silver line to a common man.
All right, Mr. Vavikar, also in terms of attaching personal properties, which is probably the latest set of groundbreaking things that the Kamala landmark case has done. First was when the builder got arrested, and now attaching personal properties there. That will be something that the real estate industry will be looking at keenly, isn't it? Because a lot of people, even some of the bigger builders who are stuck with project delays, now if they don't deliver, it means that their personal properties are under the radar.
Krishna, I'll totally agree with you, because what is to happen is, if you go for execution, there are long delays in execution in attaching the property. Thereafter, the property should be by then not laundered or not available, then it's a big problem. The speed at which the properties are attached and being auctioned, and consumer is given a respite, that this attachment of property and auction will get them some respite or pressure on the builder, is really great. Similar provisions are under Section 25 of Consumer Protection Act, where simultaneously, along with sending with the under 27 builder to the jail for 3 years imprisonment, and I must tell you, Krishna, you must be happy, Consumer Court State of Maharashtra has sent about 6 builders to the jail for rigorous imprisonment of 3 years. Simultaneously, their properties are being attached, auctioned, and monies are being given to consumers.
Wow.
So this is a welcome change, and this High Court judgment is going to really get a good precedent, even from that point of view, not only to consumer courts, but various civil courts and other courts where matters are being delayed. This can be excellent precedent.
Absolutely. The fact that it comes from the Bombay High Court is a huge advantage in a case like this, to set a precedent for other courts, like consumer courts and other courts in the country going forward. Mr. Vavikar, I want to bring up RERA at this point in time. The draft regulations are out. The implementations were a while away from implementation, especially the state of Maharashtra, which is probably will be one of the first states to implement RERA as compared to so many other states. I just want to understand, once the RERA as the draft stands comes into place, then what happens to home buyers stuck with project delays in terms of speaking legally? What can they do, or how easier does their work get to get justice?
We only hope that the Maharashtra RERA is changed and becomes more consumer friendly on the suggestions that we have given. Because otherwise MOFA is also equally equipped. MOFA will be repealed. And RERA has several provisions, like apart from 70% money which is to be bought in an escrow account, there is going to be a lot of accountability to the builder. I only hope that as per the national RERA, which says that you have to declare this, there has to be a transparency. That transparency also comes here, so that people can do due diligence really well before even buying this thing flat, because it is, the protection of yours is much better than getting caught, and therefore we always say prevention is better than cure, and RERA is going to be a big way that way.
All right, prevention is better than cure. But, Mr. Vavikar, I was asking about RERA simply because, you have a certain set of laws under which the Kamala landmark case has been tried in courts, and we've gotten so far with it. As in, it's groundbreaking for what has happened in the Kamala landmark case. I'm just asking, once the RERA comes into force, I know you have certain misgivings with the draft regulations that the Maharashtra RERA has put out, but with the RERA, when the RERA gets implemented, does it then become easier for the consumer to attempt another Kamala landmark judgment?
Sure, it is, because ultimately the provisions of lot of provisions of MOFA are taken, and there is an additional precaution that you have to keep on 70% in an escrow account. You are transferent to the people. Apart from this fact, the RERA has also given time limits. In the agreement, you must give the period of construction up to what time will be, which is there in MOFA, but that has been implemented. There is an implementing authority now, and I think that is a really welcome move, because there will be one implementing authority. I wish even the other authorities are bought into under this authority, so that approvals can be speeded up. That is also a problem of builders. But apart from that fact, the mere delay of the project and the laundering of money and siphoning of money will be really stopped to a great extent, because the escrow account, if monitored properly, is a very big boon, and transferability and punishments under RERA. Or there is also rigorous there are also provisions of sending to the jail, and that is going to be really a big boon. If we look at it positively, it is not going to be only buyers beware, but it is going to give a big tool in the hands of buyers in terms of knowledge in terms of, and then the fly-by-night operators, it will be very difficult to operate.
Absolutely.
The biggest thing is you will have some class builders coming in. I won't say accredited builders, that was my demand license and accredit them, but at least the builders who are not fly-by-night operators, it is going to be very, very difficult.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Vavekar, we do have one of the investors in the Kamala Landmark project about to join us here on the show, but one last question I want to check with you before we go to the home buyer who said to join us is that I was asking you about RERA simply because the Kamala Landmark is the beginning of many such judgments. We need to have many more of those to make sure that fly-by-night operators don't even attempt what they do. And without the RERA, if we can do so much, maybe with the RERA we can do so much more. One quick note from you in terms of what crucially needs to change about the Maharashtra RERA, keeping in mind the amount of project delay cases that are pending in our courts. What do you think the RERA can do to get justice to more number of cases like the Kamala Landmark case?
See, first of all, there is a provision which is a dangerous provision in Maharashtra RERA, saying that if a builder cannot complete the project, they will give 10% interest and that's all, and they can terminate the agreement. That is not correct, because then many fly-by-night operator builders or other builders will take it as a capital, use it for a project, and then says, now we can't deliver, transfer the project to somebody else, which can happen, and refund the money. And then the agreements are cancelled. I mean, can a consumer get a flat at the time of booking, what was the value, and at the time, say 5 years after, at the same price? It's not, it's impossible.
Absolutely.
So therefore, a lot of changes in Maharashtra RERA is expected.
Yes.
If you talk of national RERA, it is really good because such provision is not there of cancelling an agreement in toto. Refunds with interest, yes. But possession is also must.
Absolutely.
And therefore, you have to, of course, consumer courts are progressively giving the judgment that if you can't give this flat, give an alternate flat or market value has been refunded. So this is a really progressive attitude of courts and I think that is needed.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Vavekar, just hold your thoughts as I've been telling you and the audience. We do have somebody who's in fact invested with the group Kamala Landmark. There is another scanner, Mr. Rajesh Khattar. Mr. Rajesh Khattar, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on the big story on Magic Bricks. Now, talk to us about your experiences so far.
Not so good as of now.
But how do you feel right now with the kind of judgment that has come? It's a landmark judgment specifically when it comes to project delays. Never have the developers' personal properties being attached. There are more chances of justice now than ever before, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. But at the end of the day, what the buyer is getting out of that is more important to, I think, the buyer, basically.
All right, but I want to understand, as a home buyer, when you look at a judgment like this, how do you view this? First of all, before anything else, talk to us and talk to the audience and tell us what you've been through as a home buyer.
We have invested long back, almost 5.5 years back, and unfortunately, there is nothing has happened as far as Kamala Landmark's grandeur project is concerned, because it's a SRA project. Being a SRA project, nothing is moving, and due to some rules and regulations of the government, unfortunately, nothing has happened till date. And we filed a case against them. So now, as the judgment has come that all their properties to be seized and then the money to be transferred to a particular account, and from that account, the flat should be, or that particular project should be completed. And that's a very, 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 very good thing for the buyers, actually.
And Mr. Vavekar, quickly, how long before Mr. Rajesh Khattar has invested a certain amount of money, and you're just talking about, what price that you buy it under and how it changes, etc., etc. From here on, from this judgment, how does somebody like Mr. Rajesh Khattar get what he's due?
See, now he has to apply because the authority, suppose for example, collector is directed or any revenue officer is directed to attach, or the receiver has been appointed, court receiver on the properties. The court receiver will recover the properties, auction the properties, monies would come to his account, and many buyers will have to then go to the court receiver, or High Court will direct the receiver to give the money proportionately to various buyers depending on the investment that has been done and money recovered. So it is not that they are going to get fully refunded for what they have paid, because I don't know how many numbers of buyers are there. It all depends on how many approach and when they approach, and proportionately it will be given to them. So they will definitely receive, and it's an deterrent to the builders, but they'll have to approach to the authority concerned. Now suppose EOW has attached the properties, then EOW can after attachment send it for auction, and after auction the monies will be deposited in a particular account. A receiver will be appointed or a commissioner will be appointed who will distribute the amount depending on the claims of the buyers. And if you are party to the litigant to High Court, you will get the priority.
All right, Mr. Rajesh Khattar, are you a party to the litigant in the court?
Yes.
All right, so which means that you will get priority, and a justice will be done to you eventually. You're hopeful now that despite going through all the problems, that now at least that
something will move now.
Wonderful. That's very good to hear from an aggrieved home buyer. Mr. Rajesh Khattar, thank you so much, first of all, for taking time out to be with us here. And here's wishing you all the best when it comes to you getting your money back, when you getting justice. And Mr. Uday Vavikar, as always, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on the big story on Magic Bricks Now. Away from that and on to our big Magic Bricks Now expose that should make your heart skip a beat. Hospitals are making astronomical profits from critically ill heart patients by overpricing stents that are critical to removing arterial blockages in patients who are in cardiac arrest. We found that hospitals are marking up the prices of these stents by almost 600%. My colleague Amita Balachandra gets us the special report. Take a look.
Meet 54-year-old Bipin Vadher. A tailor by profession and the only breadwinner in his family, daily expenses in the Vadher family depends entirely on his income. So in the year 2011, when Bipin suffered a massive heart attack, the family was naturally worried. What came as a bigger shock was when he was told he had to shell out $1.5 lakh for 2 coronary stents at a government hospital.
बोला इम्पोर्टेड ही आता है, उनको इंडियन का बताया भी नहीं था वो टाइम पे. बोला इम्पोर्टेड ही आता है, बाहर से ही मंगाना पड़ता है. तुम्हारा साइज का जो ब्लॉकेज है वो बाहर से ही आता है. 1,20,000 हमको लिखित में ही दे दिया था उसने कि 2 स्टेन का 1,20,000 होएगा, और बाकी ऊपर का दवाई का खर्चा अलग, बेड का चार्ज तो है ही नहीं.
It was a life or a death situation for Bipin. He says at the time there were no schemes available, meaning he had to borrow money from his relatives to get the operation done. His wife and children were left to fend for themselves.
तो तुम ये प्रूफ लेके आओ, वो लेके आओ. मैं बोली भाई मेरे बच्चे छोटे छोटे हैं. मेरे को मैं बोली डॉक्टर ने बोला है 2 महीने का टाइम दिया है, और बोले थे कि तुम बोलते जल्दी करवा लो तो अच्छा है, दूसरी बार अटैक आएगा तो इंसान नहीं बच पाएंगे सब.
Bipin is but one example where patients have been misled in the nexus between stent manufacturers and hospitals which charge patients exorbitantly. According to the data put out by the National Pharmaceutical Authority, both imported and domestic stents prices are inflated to such an extent that the hospital takes a margin of more than 100%.
The distributors and the hospitals, and in this case particularly the corporate hospitals. So it's actually all these actors that are involved in this in these exploitative practices together.
What came as a bigger shock was when one of the domestic stent manufacturers, who did not wish to be named, confessed that hospitals pressured them to increase the MRP simply because they could get away with a bigger cut.
Hospitals prefer products with higher MRP.
So you've had to change it for the benefit of the hospital?
To a certain extent, yes.
And what's the margin there?
At times it ranges anywhere from maybe 10, 15%, 20% in certain hospitals to beyond 100%, 200%.
Cardiologists, however, contend that it is the hospital administration that looks after stent pricing and that they have no role to play.
Doctors primarily have no role to play. How much is the pricing kept by the hospitals? It is the hospital administration which keeps the pricing.
While a case against the price inflation is going on, the good news is that Delhi High Court has mandated the NPPA to fix a ceiling price for coronary stents. The central government in the union budget has also hinted at making these drugs more affordable. Cardiologists, however, argue that the two different kinds of stents currently available must be subcategorized and priced differently.
The threat is if we cap a price at a very one level for everything together, I may or may not have the higher end stents, which are obviously performing better and better for my patients.
There also isn't a level playing field between foreign-made and Indian stents, meaning several patients are forced to buy expensive stents simply because their doctor told so. Magic Bricks Now spoke to cardiologists who said that they only used imported stents because domestic ones were relatively inferior. Stent manufacturers argue that there is no data to support this.
And normally we always in Bombay Hospital, place like Bombay Hospital, all the standard stents of the international companies, especially US companies, FDA recognized, and they are used.
Well, there is some hope that the central government will bring in norms to make healthcare more affordable. Patients like Bipin are still at a loss. Amita Balachandra for Magic Bricks Now.
And with that, it's a wrap here on this edition of The Big Story on Magic Bricks Now. Thank you so much for watching. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.
You can watch live TV on our website mpnow.in. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/magicbricksnow. And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at Magic Bricks Now. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/magicbricksnow.